And I think from an industry standpoint too, I think for us, we really see that it put us 2 years ahead of the game because I guess we invested at a time when no one was. And I think we've found that a lot more people are now interested in the technology, but they're now starting that conversation and going down that path where we've already had the solution running now just over a year. And by the time anyone else gets it,
you're ahead of the game.
We're ahead of the game.
Kia ora koutou and welcome to Markets, Mystics and Mayhem, a weekly podcast with Kiwibank's economics team alongside the occasional special guest. We'll delve into the data, decipher policy decisions, monitor the markets and analyse the issues impacting the Kiwi economy. Let's get into it. Kia ora, welcome back to the podcast. We have a very special episode today. You may have noticed we look like we're in a bit of a different room, and I'm going to start off with saying if you can turn to, watching this through whichever platform you're watching and listening to, you might want to do so because we're going to have some really cool footage playing throughout our interview. And that's because today we're here with DSL Logistics. We have John Widdows, the CEO, and Aaron Hobbs, the COO, and we're going to be interviewing them. They're a Kiwibank customer, and they've got some really cool insights to tell us today about a little bit about their company, some economic trends. We're going to ask them how the current climate is faring. There's a lot to talk about. We've gone through a tour of their warehouse, and I have no other words to say than it is really cool. I don't think I've seen something like that before.
Opening those doors and seeing the racks, honestly, you've got to watch the video for this one.
Yeah, so definitely switch on to camera mode or whatever it is called. But first of all, thank you so much, John and Aaron, for being with us today and letting us come and tour the warehouse. Why don't you tell us a bit about the business, your size, your reach, your customer base, and, talking to a general audience, what your logistics is aimed towards?
Well, I suppose the company's been going since 1986. We started off as customs brokers, just doing customs documentation for clients. Maybe about 30 years ago, we moved into, someone asked us if we would do their warehousing for them. So we said we'd give it a go. And basically we've been concentrating on the warehousing side of the business ever since. So, the company's grown an awful lot in the last, 5 to 6 years. We've got about 130 staff now, I suppose. So things are really just going from strength to strength in sort of the markets that we're in.
And so what is your main customer base? What kind of items are you seeing in your warehouse? Tell us a bit about that.
Most probably about 80% of what we do would be clothing and footwear, sports brands, that kind of thing, fashion retail. Most probably about 80% of that. And that's given us the opportunity to be able to do a little bit of automation, which is what you guys have seen today. Just try and make things work a little bit more efficiently and for us to try and find a better way to service our customers.
So before we get into really the fun automation stuff, and it was really very impressive, it seems like within your industry, you're saying, 80 to 90% of your business is in that clothing retail space. It's very close to just demand in the economy. How have you kind of found, I guess, the last 12 to 18 months?
I mean, certainly things have been pretty tough because obviously what happens with what we do is that people go to retail, they buy a product, and we replenish that product back to the retail store so they can sell more of it. Mm-hmm. Retail's been a little bit slow in these kind of areas, and it's been a little bit more difficult. But thankfully we've had a bit of new work, which has enabled us to continually be quite busy. But it's we came from COVID and things were fantastic, and then it was really hard because you couldn't get warehouse space and people had so much stock and all that kind of thing into this kind of recession. And the recession's most probably gone on a little bit longer than everyone thought. And And traditionally, with the kinds of things that we provide, you often don't. Well, we seem to be like immune to those kind of things, don't we?
Yeah.
It's because people always want some new gym gear and a new pair of running shoes and those kind of things, right? But in this kind of recession, we've really seen a bit of downturn, and most probably only just starting to come back now.
Yeah, I mean, you probably saw a bit in the data what was happening with clothing and footwear apparel over the past kind of recessionary period. We have seen a bit of a pullback in the spend there, right, in our Kiwibank data.
Yeah, it's been such a volatile series. As you were saying, COVID was a really good time for retail. You just saw, we track Kiwibank card spending, and we can kind of break it down into different industries, and clothing and footwear just spiked. Everyone was kind of just stuck at home, couldn't go overseas, and they would just buy, new clothes, and that's and it would just get shipped to their door. They don't have to go into the store. So we saw that, but then as interest rates were hiked, a lot of that demand had just fallen away. There was probably a bit of a correction in that space anyway. But then we've just had such a difficult period, as you're saying. It felt like this recession has been very prolonged. The data says it's concentrated just last year, but I think on the ground it very much felt more than just, last year. It probably started at the end of 2023, really. But then, we've got some rate cuts, and hopefully that adds a bit more, disposable incomes for households, and they'll start spending up again.
Yeah, I think that's what the retailers need, and a bit of confidence from business and stuff like that. It's I think it's everyone's really needs it. Everyone needs a bit of a hand.
Yeah.
I want to talk a little bit more about the COVID time, because Aaron, you were telling me a really interesting story while we were touring the warehouse about how there was auctions for warehouse space, correct? During when we had that that surge of inventory, because obviously I think we saw retailers shift from, having a just-in-time inventory sort of stock to just in case when COVID came and we had to shut, and we saw those supply chains kind of break down. So maybe run through that story again.
So I guess what we saw was, it wasn't uncommon for clients to double stock on hand. So that put massive pressure on the facilities we had and any available space. So like in Auckland, there was literally 0% occupancy. So when stuff was coming up, unfortunately, everyone wanted it.
Yeah.
So the landlords were really, had the upper hand in that negotiation.
Yeah.
And they were able to get really high rental yields and very long terms. So to compete in that market, you're having to spend a lot of money to gain more space. And we all had to do it. We took on 2 or 3 extra buildings during that period, purely just to keep up with demand. Thankfully, we've been through a period now, we've been able to offload a couple of those. But, they're not easy things to acquire and offload either, because the way that the contracts and stuff work. So it was quite challenging. Thankfully, that space is sort of, coming right now. There's new builds coming online and things like that. So hopefully we see a bit of a easing in that part of the market for us.
Yeah.
But warehouse space, Aaron was talking about the costs and stuff. I mean, traditionally prior to COVID, you're paying $130, $140 a square metre for warehouse space, it's $200 and above now. So it's gone up, like quite a large amount. It's 35-40% kind of thing, and it has made it bloody hard, to be fair. So it's because all these things have to be passed on,
Yes.
and customers are already hurting with just everything's going up for them, and it makes it a lot harder for them to make money. So not only are they selling less, they're having to pay more for everything. The stock, the shipping, the warehousing, transport.
That's quite the squeeze. And do you think that's a structural shift coming out of COVID? We are in that period, and it kind of changed behavior, that there's more online shopping, that there's this kind of structural shift towards more demand for warehousing logistics.
Yeah, I guess with the advent of more demand in the e-commerce space, people then carry wider ranges. which changes the way in which you have to store goods.
Mm.
So rather than having a lot of depth and a few SKUs, you have a very wide range with low depth. So the storage profile changes, which means you're using more space to store less, if that makes sense. Because we've seen with a lot of our customers the SKU growth because of the popularity of e-commerce now, because they want to have full ranges available online, which means they have to store more in our facilities. Whereas, 15, 20 years ago, before e-commerce was popular, people had a core range and that was kind of it. But now, and especially with, I guess, online availability of offshore sites as well, to compete, they have to have a very wide range. So you have a situation that the storage profile changes significantly. So that's what we've seen a lot with our customers as well.
Have you been noticing anything, between differences between the North and the South Island, or just any of the regions? Is one area picking up more that you're noticing in terms of shipments? We take a deep dive into the regions once a year. We did it not too long ago, maybe in July. And when we look at New Zealand as a map, and our economic scores that we find for each region, the South Island is just doing much better than the North Island. So have you noticing any trends there?
Oh, well, yeah, I think we tend to agree with that.
Yeah.
We just did an exercise recently on cartage to the South Island, and we certainly noticed that the deliveries into the South Island were a lot higher than we would have expected them to be, or higher than they traditionally have been. So obviously things are maybe a little bit better down there, whether it's just e-commerce or whether it's B2B stuff as well. We didn't quite go to the level of spotting them, but certainly more going down there, that's for sure.
Yeah, I think it's just if we look at what's kind of driving that, we do see that retail spending is a bit higher down south, and what's really supporting that is better housing market, so that wealth effect is having less of an impact in terms of the negative impact that it's having here in the North Island. Stronger employment growth across some of the southern regions. So there's definitely quite a few things supporting consumption more in the South Island than we are seeing here.
Yeah, farming as well has done really well.
Yeah, farmers are doing well.
Boosting those rural incomes.
Yeah, exactly. We just hope that kind of optimism spreads.
Yes.
Across the city. And okay, I guess moving even further away from our island, we operate in the global economy, and the big theme this year is tariffs, US tariffs. We were talking earlier, and it sounds like it hasn't been quite a disruptor to your business, which is fantastic news.
Yeah, it doesn't seem to have done too much to our clients at this point. Whether that's something that changes, who knows? Sometimes some of these things take a while to filter through. But generally, we haven't seen any massive spikes in extra stock or all those kind of things. But it is highly likely that people may be wanting to send their stuff to different places because of the problems over there. But we haven't really seen a massive evidence of that yet, have we?
No, not at all.
Okay, can we talk about the fun stuff?
All right, we're talking
Let's
about
talk
the
about
fun
these
stuff. And this
robots.
is probably where now you're going to be not looking at us too much, but looking at the cool footage that's coming up.
Yeah.
One of the questions we were going to ask is, have you guys been investing recently? And I was going to ask you about the government's investment boost scheme, but you guys did take on quite a big investment, I think was it about a year ago now, to really automate a lot of your processes with these really cool little Roomba-looking robots. They do look like little Roombas, the
minions.
vacuum.
Minions,
the minions,
yeah.
that is perfect.
It's the right colour for it.
It is the right colour. So why don't you tell us a bit about the technology that you've adopted, and what was sort of the driver for it? What have been the benefits? This is your time to shine. And
the main driver for it was, I guess, we all saw massive demands through COVID, which put a lot of pressure on wages, with increase in minimum wages, all that sort of stuff. Staff became very hard to get.
Yes.
And when you're relying on staff, it put a lot of impact on our ability to service our customers. So we came under a lot of pressure from our customers to get better. We always wanted to get better. So we spent a lot of time investigating different options. And what we landed on was a AMR sortation solution through Libya in China. And it was integrated with a company called Empheus. The general principle of it is they do a sort for us. So we do a batch pick, we bring it to the robots, and then the robots will sort those individual units into store orders for us. So historically, we did a very similar process, but we had people that would do a scan and they would have to physically walk to a carton and do the put. So as you can imagine, travel time, things like that was very excessive. So this was something that really sped up that process for us. And I think the big thing for us, it allowed a lot of continuity across the process because although it looks the same, there was a lot of variabilities in the type of job we were scanning. So the throughputs that we got for different types of orders were variable. So it was quite hard to manage. Whereas with the robots, it's meant that a lot of that curve's flattened out because it's so stable with the way that it processes. So it's allowed us a stronger ability to manage that process in terms of volumes and things like that. So we've got invested in 2 tables. So one of the tables is designed for apparel, and that one tends to sort directly to the shipper. And then the other table we've got is designed to sort footwear. So as you'll probably see from the slides and things, there's a blue shoe, and we sort the footwear and we pack manually from there. Just unfortunately, the robots don't want to pack the shoes nicely into a box for us, so it's still a manual pack off the table.
But the robots do pack the apparel into a box very nicely. And it's very easy. Even me and MJ got to have a go just chucking on the apparel onto the little robots. Very, very easy, very time efficient. Yeah. But there is still a bit of human process involved. Absolutely. But I think you mentioned, was it previously when you had to do this all manually, you've gone from maybe a team of 40, was it 40 to now 15?
Yeah, so that's pretty much it. But obviously, as I said to you on the walk around, we were lucky. We had this big client coming on last year, and we were able to keep all the staff on and just redeploy them to other areas of the business, inwards and cyclic counting and those kind of things. So we had other options for them. So it was a real win-win situation for us because we didn't really want to have to make people redundant. So thankfully we didn't have to do that. So all worked out well. Yeah. There's only so many things that we can cut the price of in this business, right? Yeah. So most probably 55% of our expenses are in wages and rent. So obviously can't change the rent much. So we have to look at what things we can do with the next biggest resource being the people and how we can utilise the people better.
And you guys would have seen with the technology how easy it is. Like our ability to scale now, we run an afternoon shift, which we've got a big pool of casuals. So if we get an influx, we bring up some casuals.
Service that,
We bring some people in, and then we can run one of those tables, and we can train somebody like you guys got trained in about 30 seconds. So training on it's very simple. Yeah. So we can flex and scale real quick with it, and it means that we can respond to our customer demand quicker. So that's been probably one of the biggest things for us is our ability to just really respond to that demand and not take a week to get through it. Yeah. Because we've had an influx, we can tend to do that within a shift now, which has been a massive improvement for us, for both us and our customers.
Because you talked about a number on the floor about how many items per hour you'd get when it was just a manual people versus now. Do you remember what those numbers were?
Yeah, so like obviously the different products and the order profiles had a lot of variability in that. Yeah. But we tended to work on 180 units an hour, whereas the new systems are designed, we can get 2,500 units an hour out of the apparel table, and footwear table, we're pretty happy at the sort of 1,600 units an hour, just with the manual pack process that comes off it. But that's a massive improvement from where it was.
Yeah, that's impressive. That's incredibly efficient. To go for, that's exactly what you want in that kind of investment. Yeah.
And in terms of also, I think you mentioned the savings on overtime hours as well, right? Because I think you said, between August and the end of the year, when you're picking up for that busy Christmas season, did you say how many hours of overtime before?
So we had a few other things that we were doing as well. So, I mean, it's not all down to that, but I mean, we were doing on average 1,000 hours a week in overtime.
Wow.
And, generally now we do about 40.
Yeah.
So it's been good for that. It just means that, we can get things out a lot faster.
What really struck me just on that tour is just how this technology has really opened the door to further, things that you can do. And we're talking about robotic conveyors and everything. It's just that starting point is so strong for further efficiency gains down the line.
And you see the benefit that it provides.
Yeah.
So as soon as you see how well it works, you just go, what else can I do?
Yeah.
And you get really so we've got another piece of technology coming hopefully towards the end of the year, which is the same robotic solution but applied differently.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just a small piece at this stage, but it's going to be a really cool test case for us.
Yeah.
So with any luck, we should have that later this year, and we can see how that's going to benefit our business.
Yeah.
But we're really excited to see how other parts of this sort of technology we can apply.
Yeah.
Like we were saying before, using robots as conveyors as opposed to traditional conveyors.
Yeah.
All of those things we want to explore and see how we can really get the most out of the tech.
Because this is really unique technology. I think you're one of the only ones in New Zealand using these robotic systems, as opposed to conveyor belts, which tend to be the more popular. So what drove you towards this unique approach?
I guess the big thing with it was it's being a 3PL environment, we don't have a lot of controls over the variables, and our business can change overnight in terms of demand, new customers, things like that. So finding a solution that's going to be super flexible was really key for us. And those sort of fixed ones, like you talk about conveyor belts and all that sort of jazz, are very fixed infrastructure and very hard to adapt and very hard to change. Whereas this type of solution is very flexible.
Yeah.
What we've got built here, we've got the ability to add another level to it. We can add robots to it. So it's already future-proofed in terms of future expansion. There's other modules you can add for specifically doing e-commerce. There's like a 3D sorter you can add to it. Like I say, adding robots for conveyors, having that range of options out of, I guess, one piece of kit was really the driver for us in terms of why we chose that solution.
A lot of businesses have their own kind of systems, and a lot won't have anything like that. They have more a goods to person kind of system, and places that do their own work can do that because their stuff's pretty fixed and their processes are pretty fixed. So there's certainly other areas of automation, but there's mostly not too many 3PL companies that have that kind of thing. Most of them tend to be sort of their own people doing their own work. We're pretty proud of the fact that we've got something so cool and something that helps us and helps our customers.
Yeah, because you're across so many brands. I think you were saying with the new Manawa Bay Mall, how many stores do you allocate there?
We've got 14 stores with our customer base here.
So when you go to the mall, you're like, oh, we do that, we do that. Yeah.
So I'm that annoying guy.
Yeah.
that in itself is also pretty cool. We're obviously very proud of the customers that we have, and we just want to try and do the best we can for them and the best we can for us at the end of the day, and the people that work for us.
So are there any, I know this is still a kind of recent investment, happened about a year ago. Are you now, how eager are you to take on more, or will it just kind of depend on how the demand matches up?
I think we're definitely eager.
We want to try out this new sample system we've got coming over. So we're really keen to try that out because we think it'll help us in another area of our bulk picking, which is something that we didn't think that we could do, but we've, since you think about all these things all the time and try and think, well, what else could we do? And I think if this thing works, then we'd be pretty keen to make it a bit bigger.
And I think the key thing for us is like understanding that you can't automate everything. So you're always going to have manual processes in this environment. So it's just trying to find key areas that are going to present good yield in terms of the investment.
It's
So
bang for your buck,
yeah,
basically.
bang for your buck. Find something that's going to provide a really good result for for the investment and either increase throughput, decrease cost, or any of those key drivers why you go down that path. So it's just trying to pick on certain areas that are going to we're going to see some benefit from.
Yeah. We have this bet going on because we saw a bit of a preview of the robotics, and we have a bet going on how heavy, like the capacity of the robots. What's the heaviest it can take? Do you have an idea?
No, loaded question. You can design those ones. I think can go up to 25 kilos with a different deck.
Yeah.
But there are robots that will carry pallets of a ton, 2 tons, which will do pallet movements with that same sort of technology.
But those particular ones
are
for 5 kilos, I think.
I win.
Yes.
I win. I had 10 kilos put down. How much did you have, MJ?
I think it was 50.
And Jared had like 100. But to be fair, when we first saw a picture, we didn't realize they were on a table, so they did look quite a bit bigger.
Yeah.
And then we saw a little video of them, and I was like, that's not going to take too much.
But future.
But in the future,
50.
and other models definitely could go heavier.
The Kmart ones, for example, they mostly would do 50.
Yeah.
I'm not sure, but they are substantially bigger. And like as Aaron said, you change the deck on it to allow it to hold more. So you can change your 5 to 25 on that size or something like it.
Because our UCR one's got like a tipper. You can get them with like a side shift conveyor. So for more fragile type goods. So that there's less sort of impact on the tip and things like that. So there's lots of configuration you can do with the robots to suit your purpose.
Yeah. And I'm just curious actually, because you're saying this is, one of a kind in New Zealand. Had you seen inspiration overseas that this is kind of the way they do things?
Well, we saw it at Kmart first, obviously the bigger version of it, and we thought, that looks pretty good.
Yeah.
And then Aaron and I went over to the logistics show in Sydney in 23 and had a look at the sample over there.
Yeah.
As well as a few other options as well, but we just kept coming back to we'd walk the floor and we'd have another look at something else, and we'd go and sit down and have a coffee and go, no, it's still the tabletop sorter, and we spent a hell of a lot of time, and then eventually we thought, no, look, we're not going to change our minds. We're good now. So
when we did the discovery on it, you see the videos of the solutions, and like you'll see how easy it looks. And we were watching the video of like an inductor, and I just sit there going, it's slow. But then you actually counted the number of units over a period of time and extrapolated out, and you're like,
that's pretty far.
There's a lot of units that go through. It's not under a lot of stress, where you see a lot of the high-speed Bombay sorters, everyone's like having to go super fast to keep up with it to get the throughput, whereas this seems like a very stress-free way to process a lot of units. Like you guys were on the tables and it's very ergonomic and all the rest of it. So
and it's not particularly noisy, and I mean the Bombay things are quite noisy and loud. Whereas that it's not over the top. This is one thing I'm obviously quite keen to have a bit of a say on, is that obviously we had to fund it, and trying to get funding in the kind of era that we were in with recession and all that kind of thing. Most probably wasn't the easiest. So I've had a few challenges with that. But we looked at some other options, and then it was when, about the time when Nicola Willis was saying, Kiwibank should get involved more with businesses and stuff like that. So we talking about it, so why don't we add it to the list, And they came up with the best solution for us. They made the whole thing possible for us, and we're very appreciative for that, for having a bank that's prepared to work with us and see the kind of vision that we were seeing. So, because
the hard part with the tech is it's kind of unknown. Like they're lending money on stuff that people don't have a really good understanding on. Like racking. People know racking, but when it comes to a robotic solution like that, it's very hard to sort of go, where is the value in it? So,
And that's a
I think
real
it's really good to get some
Yeah,
support.
no, so your asset finance guys really were very cooperative and very helpful, and that's and I think we've seen the benefit we've seen from installing the system. It's really been worthwhile, and very, very, very pleased with everything.
Oh,
That's really great to hear.
Yeah.
And as you say, when you took on this investment, it was at a very difficult time, I think.
probably right in the middle.
Right in the middle
really.
of almost a
People
recession.
weren't spending a lot of money around.
Yeah, and I think we've talked about it a couple of times, but across the market, like credit had really dried up. So, and Kiwibank was one of the banks that really stayed open for businesses. So it's great to hear. We're really, really glad to hear that solution has also worked out so well for you. It is a risk. It's always a risk, but seeing it in person just shows you how impressive it is, and it's really great.
And I think from an industry standpoint too, I think for us, we really see that it put us 2 years ahead of the game because I guess we invested at a time when no one was. And I think we've found that a lot more people are now interested in the technology, but they're now starting that conversation and going down that path where, we've already had the solution running now just over a year. And by the time anyone else gets it,
you're ahead of the game.
We're ahead of the game. And so I think it's been really great for us to, have pulled the trigger when we did. I don't think we'd be sitting here as stress-free as we are now if we hadn't put it in a year ago, because it's really taken a lot of the stress out of our business.
We'd be struggling to do manually the amount of work that we do now. We would really be struggling to do that.
As they say, never let a crisis go to waste, and you've definitely,
exactly.
definitely made the most of that one.
We just, it's not like we're a big multinational. We're, Daniel started off on someone's lunchroom table.
But these are exactly the businesses that are, driving the recovery, those that are forward thinking, and it'll be interesting to see how this upcoming Christmas period goes. We're hoping that demand picks up, and I think you'll be the first to kind of see that really closest to the ground. Do you have any thoughts on how this upcoming Christmas period will come?
Well, I think what we hear from our customers, some of them are looking to be quite aggressive around Black Friday and Cyber Monday and that kind of thing. How that filters through to Christmas, I don't know. But numbers are meant to be looking reasonable.
Yeah, improving.
Most probably not what we did sort of like last January. We had a sort of a really big month, January this year. Just after Christmas. Just one of our customers just went mad. So I think most probably there will be a little upside. I think it'll depend a little bit on how Black Friday goes, I think some of the planned discounts are going to be the kind of things that Kiwis will want. I mean, you get a situation like if you offer 25% in Aussie, a lot of people will go to the shops and buy, right? Offer 25% here. We're not interested. We want 40 before.
It sparks a lot of interest.
Before it sparks interest, right? So, if people are aggressive with their discounts, I think people will buy.
I think we just need the sun to come out.
That would certainly help.
Like you do see it, like when you have a period of bad weather and everything. Like once upon a time, it drove people to the malls, but people just get depressed, and people don't have the same enthusiasm for life and all the rest of it. Whereas this rain can go away and the wind can go away. I think people will start feeling a bit more positive about things. And
You think it was the middle of winter, not October.
Sadly, I think we have to wrap up there, Sabrina. This was so much fun taking Markets, Mystics and Mayhem on the road. Thank you so much for the tour and then just the conversation. It's been really interesting. Really love what you're doing, the innovation. I think I've said impressive like 5 times this entire podcast.
There's just no other word for it.
There's just no other word for it.
You really go, like, when we pulled up on the car ride here and we saw how high the ceilings go, we saw the robots, you're kind of just sitting there like, you just want to watch it all day.
And it didn't stop. We came here, our doors were opened, we walked across the road to your other warehouse, doors opened again. But no, thank you very much for today. It was really, really fascinating, and just your insights on the upcoming period, what we'll be watching as well. So we're hoping for a better year, and hopefully it does come. But yeah, once again, thank you so much, and thanks for listening, thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed it just as much as we did.
You've been tuned into This is Kiwi Economics, Markets, Mystics and Mayhem. We'll be back next week for more analysis and insights.
Any views or information shared in this podcast, while given in good faith, aren't necessarily the views of Kiwibank.